The no money spent team in NHL 24 has gone far better than I could have anticipated. If you've been following the channel for quite some time, you know the first 6 years of me creating content was me just having the best cards at all time, dropping tons of money so that you guys could all see the best cards being used on stream or in videos. And then in NHL 23, I decided to go no money spent. And then around January, I completely abandoned my God Squad, and I have not spent $1 in this game in over a year and a half now. And I don't plan to either in NHL 25. So what I want to do is put together 5 things that I'm going to focus on in NHL 25 for the no money spent players, and the things that you want to pay attention to early on in NHL 25, all from my experience of not spending $1 in the game. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, these tips are going to be dependent upon your playstyle, whether you play a ton. If you are someone that steps away from the game and you play casually, these are obviously going to depend upon your playstyle. But if you are watching this in August, you are more than likely one of the more hardcore players, so I want to address those players first. And coming in at number 5 is sell every base card you get for the first 3 to 4 weeks of the game's launch. Now, when it comes to rewards, the first question is going to be, do you take untradeable or tradable? And I think that for me personally and my objectives in no money spent next year, those might be different. But the hardest thing to do is to open up a pack, and let's say you get base Connor McDavid. Essentially the best card at launch of the game, always because of his skating. It is one of the most sought after cards, even more than Gretzky and Lemieux for the most part. It is always one of the most sought after cards, and it does hold its value more than any other base card. Here is the major issue in holding on to your base cards. I'm going to equate it like buying a brand new car. The second you take it off the lot, there goes $15,000. Base cards operate almost the exact same way, because after 2 to 3 weeks of the game being out, we get our first event that drops, and now the base cards are no longer the new hotness. On top of that, they are always in packs. So once we get a few weeks of rewards to come out, everyone is pulling base cards at all times of the year. It is simply a supply and demand issue. Now, something to remember is that not only are base cards some of the better cards early on at launch of the game, but they are also currency. So when we take a look at NHL 24, the way that we made power-up icons was by trading in 40 gold players that were 74 and above. Now, there was a best use of cards by trading in non-NHL players, but as you can see that they were used for a trade-in while everyone was chasing Lemieux and Gretzky and Gordie Howe. On top of that, they're used for team builders, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But early on, the 87 overall team builder items, including one of the GOATs in Patrice Brisebois, all required you to trade in gold NHL players that were base cards to acquire these cards. They were the new hotness. And while they did hold their value more than most cards, they too lost their value a little bit later on as the game went into its play cycle. Now, obviously, things can change in how sets and team builders and all of that works going into NHL 25, but what I'm going to make a hard rule of is anything that is 83 and above that is a base card or a live moment or a team of the week card, any of those types of cards, immediately sold, because I'm going to get the most amount of coins for them, and they are always going to be replaced by whatever new event comes out. I'm making a hard push on that because I feel like far too often early on in the game, you get that Artemi Panarin, and it's like, man, he's one of the higher rated cards or one of the better cards early on. While that's true, that's only going to last for a couple weeks. So base cards, live moment cards, team of the week cards, anything 83 and above, immediately sold the second I get it. Now let's talk about team builders. And this is going to drastically change depending on the type of player you are. If you are someone that is going to play all year round, then team builders always need to be in the back of your mind because the cost of them is simply insane. But if you use your rewards all year round correctly, even no money spent, you can acquire all of the 99s with some proper planning and use of your resources. Now, to put it in perspective, for you to make a 99 overall team builder item, you are going to need 2,400 gold NHL players to be able to trade in the necessary cards required to get a 99. And that is a staggering amount when you consider that for a large portion of the year, gold NHL player items are around 1,000 coins on average if you were to buy them. That's 2.4 million coins. And obviously, there are 99s that will come out that will be far cheaper than that. But when reviewing the 99s, 99s or even the 96s and 93s, they're always among the best cards when they are released. And these 99s this year were fantastic. Lindros, Blake, and Joe Thornton are all among the better cards in the game at the end stage of the game. Now, something that I made the mistake of was I let up on the gas. I went back and watched my NHL 23 video on things I want to pay attention to, and starting team builders and saving for them early on was a focus of mine. But the issue is I was able to get all 8 of the 87 overall team builder items when the 90 overall team builder items drop. Now, obviously, EA wants money, and they are going to release more 90 overalls than are available if you were to just trade in 2 87s for 190 overall, meaning that there's 8 87s. There's going to be more than 490 overalls because they want you to keep acquiring those cards. And this is where things got pretty expensive, and it was harder to keep up. So again, once the 90 overalls drop, I continually made some more team builder items of the 87s, and I was able to make all of the 90 overall items. But this is where, at the 93 overall drop, when it was Jason Arnott, Rick Nash, Larry Robinson, Sammy Salo, this is where it became extremely expensive if you were not putting your focus on this. And what I mean by that was all of the base cards that were NHL items, I was using for MSPs or power-up collectibles and things like that, and I wasn't putting a major focus on team builders. I kind of, like I said, let up the gas, and that's when I got really far behind. And once you get behind in the team builder drops, you're gonna have a hell of a time catching up at the 96 range and then obviously the 99 range. By the end, I was able to make a 99 overall for free, but if I had just kept my 82 and below NHL items that I got throughout the year and used them for team builders, I would have had much better use of my resources, because the trade-ins that you get for 82 and below items are almost non-existent. The value is brutal. And what I mean by that is when you get lazy and you want to trade in 40 gold player items for a power-up collectible, this is a terrible valued set. But again, once you get to a certain stage of the game, you're like, oh, I want to rush, the new hotness comes out, and you just throw all of your collection into something, and it just kind of keeps that carrot chase going. I will not be doing that in NHL 25. All of my base items that are NHL players will go towards team builder collectibles, because I know I'm going to play throughout the year, and I want all of the 99s. If anything, just for a flex and how easy it is to actually get them. It is very easy as long as you're paying attention for it from the start to finish. Next up, let's talk about the fantasy hockey events. One of my favorite events every year. This year really lost a lot of its luster, so let's break it down. For anyone that does not know, or maybe you started late in the year, the fantasy hockey event is one of the best events in the NHL cycle, simply because EA has no control over it after the cards are released. So what they do is they release a card. It is a fantasy hockey card. Every time that player scores in real life, they go up +1 overall. And once that train gets going, they can't do anything about it, which again, just is one of the more fun things to do. For long-standing players of the franchise, we'll probably never forget Matt Duchene hitting 99 or Jordan Kyrou, because that was done in like December, and it was just so absurd and out of nowhere that everyone was watching like Nashville Predator games because you just wanted to see if Duchene would score. And I love that anytime they tie in real hockey to the video game. So the fantasy hockey event is always great until this year. So first, let's talk about the cost. The real issue with the fantasy hockey event is they have to do it at the start of the year, which is 100% the correct way to do it. I stated this ever since the game put fantasy hockey into HUT. It should be the first event, in my opinion, because we get to kind of call our shot. We get low overall player items, and as they score, they go up in overall. And it should just really be the first event of the year, and I think that we should all get one free from our favorite team, but that's a whole other argument. The issue is, though, is because they can get to 99, EA makes them cost an insane amount for the time period of the game. It's very hard to save all of your resources if you're a casual player for the fantasy hockey event, because you just won't have enough to make more than one of the fantasy hockey cards. Now, the real issue in NHL 24 was they decided to give master set player items to X Factor. Case in point is Drew Doughty. I really don't have an issue with them giving a fantasy card to Drew Doughty. He kind of fits the bill. He is a popular player, no longer among one of the best, but he also has an X Factor, meaning that every time he scored in real life, he went up by +2, because defensemen go up by +2. He was doing it at a very quick clip, meaning that he jumped up in overall very high, but his fantasy card lost value because he also had an X Factor. And obviously, you have to pay the cost of upgrading X Factors, but you can do that at your own pace. So instead of paying up front for Drew Doughty's X Factor and assuming all of the risk, because if he gets hurt or he sucks, wishful thinking on my part, you're kind of screwed. But if you have his X Factor, you can just wait and see. Not only that, they also gave one to Nick Suzuki. So again, regardless of how the fantasy card does, you can open up some X Factor packs and just hold on to any of the fantasy cards because they might pop off and you can upgrade them at your own pace. The worst thing that I think they added to the game, however, this year when it comes to Fantasy Hockey Event is that the +1 upgrade when they earned a live moment card or a Team of the Week card took the fantasy hockey card into account, meaning that, let's say Oliver Bonk, for example, who was a very popular pick early on, struggled and then cruised to 99. At like 90 overall, if you had his fantasy card, you're laughing, you have a big advantage. However, if he earned a Team of the Week item, it would be a 91. So you could just buy his Team of the Week item. It was no longer a big advantage for having this card. And oftentimes, because endurance was fixed or changed early on in the year because of the full pressure system, the fantasy card's endurance was completely crushed in comparison to the Team of the Week or live moment card. Now, all that to say is the Fantasy Hockey Event is still a great event. It offers a unique opportunity to the player base, especially the hardcore players, where you can get a 99 overall card, and you can do it far faster than EA intends. But I also want to give you the percentages of this. So, of all of the 99s that came out at launch of the event, so not including Frank Vetrano, there was 13 cards that they released that hit 99. Out of the 43 that they dropped, meaning that at about a 30% clip, these cards will hit 99. That's not a great success rate. And from all of the years they've done fantasy hockey, this had the biggest bust rate. When you consider like Trevor Zegras hitting 80 or Goudreau hitting 82, again, remember, you're paying for the cost of a 99 in like October, but you're assuming all of the risk. Even when you go back to NHL 23, there was only 12 players that hit 99. Even if you go back to NHL 23, there was 13 players that hit 99 out of the 42 that dropped. So again, right around 30% of the cards dropped will actually hit 99. So it's nowhere near a slam dunk. All that to say, when it comes to the Fantasy Hockey Event, if they do not release it as the first event, which I doubt they will do, there is always players that pop off at the beginning of the year that they don't predict. Those are the ones to chase after. So Teuvo Teravainen this year was a great option because he was so far out in front that you could use him on your team. That's the thing that you want to pay attention to. Can you put them on your team when you make them, because they're always going to be lower overalls, and survive if they don't score a ton right off the rip? Outside of that, it's a very dangerous game chasing more than those kind of slam dunks. I did it with Tomas Hertl. He was one of my favorite players, obviously, and a Shark. It was a great card for me to make as a fan, but he ended up getting hurt. So you got to be careful with that. You're assuming all of the risk. I should have just taken his X Factor card and upgraded that. This might be a bit of a hot take. I'm going to be taking tradable rewards early on in NHL 25. Part experiment, but I also understand the realization that having a gigantic coin stack for when they mess up is extremely important. Taking on tradable rewards every week is definitely the play in terms of value because cards are currency too. EA also gives away at least one Master Set player, usually with a lot of grinding from every event, especially early on. And that was what I did in NHL 24 is I would take the free grinded out Master Set player item, but then I would also take untradeable rewards and I would end up making a second Master Set player because I had so much untradeable reward. The thing I regret the most was not having a ton of coins for when EA messes up. I can't believe I'm saying this, and there's no way to predict that this is going to happen again, but the confidence in EA's content team not messing up during pack releases or new event drops is very low. We saw it during the Packpocalypse, the greatest day in Hut history, July 19, 2024, never forget. If you didn't have a massive stack of coins and you were just sitting on a gigantic collection of cards, you really couldn't take part in it. So I'm making a hard point for myself to take tradable rewards as early and often as I can to sell all of the base cards and things I know I'm not going to use to acquire as many coins as possible. The goal for the NHL 25 No Money Spent series is to see how fast I can hit 1 million coins without working the market. I'm going to take the free Master Set player that EA gives me and slowly build from from there, but I really want to have 1 million coins at all times of the game in case EA goes and does another oopsie. And lastly, I want to remember that never assume Team of the Year and Team of the Season are going to hit 99 overall. I think that last year we got a taste of it, but this year has further confirmed that if you are someone like a majority of the hardcore player base, you save everything up until January when the Team of the Year drops to get all of the Team of the Year items. And they are great cards, especially when they are released. They're among the best for the next like month or two. But EA has gone above and beyond to make sure that we don't hit 99 HUT, and there's no guarantee that these cards will ever hit 99. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk being a 98 in August is forever going to be one of the best memes. It's up there with Jack Johnson getting a Master Set player item every year for like 3 straight seasons. So, what my focus on Team of the Year will be as a no money spent player is the slam dunk. Connor McDavid will get a Team of the Year item almost assuredly. It is the safest card that you will ever make. They always try and push him to be the highest overall or very close to it, but the players that are not, like McKinnon, for example, that just score at will, that will always have upgrades, there's just no way to depend on them. And for anyone that at the time of the Team of the Year release, if you got all 6 of the men's Team of the Year drop, like that's a sick flex, but I don't know how happy you are with that because, I mean, I have a no money spent team. I made Matthew Tkachuk. He's not even on my team. So just something to keep in mind that Team of the Year is kind of something that we always think about to save all of your resources for. I don't know why anymore. There's no guarantee. And sort of a bonus one included with Team of the Season is for players that you think are going to get a Team of the Season item, save their Master Set player item because Team of the Season is much later on in the year, but it's guaranteed to know that if they had a Master Set player earlier on in the year, it at least guarantees you a shot at being able to make them. So, for example, it was clear that Nikita Kucherov was going to get a Team of the Season item. Saving his HUT Elites Master Set player item was one of the biggest slam dunks because you knew that he was going to get one. But again, no guarantee that they will hit 99. As you can see, Panarin, Nylander, Pettersson, Rantanen, all great cards. They're just not 99, and when you go down the list, it gets even less. So just, again, something to keep in mind. Now, there are many other things that I want to touch on when it comes to No Money Spent, and the No Money Spent series will continue, especially in NHL 25, but those were just the base level ones that I want you guys to at least be thinking about as we get into the NHL 25 news cycle, and we start to hear more about the brand new game, which I'm super excited for. The summer months are always a drag without hockey, so let me know some of your best practices with your No Money Spent squad, or even if you are someone that spent money, things that you've learned this year that you're going to do differently in NHL 25. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you next time.